And as with any good arc story, it starts with spawning on the beach. And just as I had woken up on the beach, so would my partner in crime. However, he has a tendency to make things a little more challenging than they need to be. But I was already a step ahead of him.
How am I knocked out? Did you what?
Huh?
Scam.
Get over here, let me invite you to the tribe. Although I initially had the upper hand, he still managed to get away. So I went ahead and gathered myself a kit before pursuing him once more. After creating this kit, I would go on to pursue him a couple more times. However, even if I caught him, he'd still manage to get away. And one time, I even killed him. So knowing that he was a slippery little bugger, I decided to make him a trap, in hopes that I could negotiate with him. Unfortunately, he was also quite stubborn, so I ended up just releasing him. Goodbye, little one. Realizing he couldn't be forced to join, I went ahead and made myself a raft, so I could head over to Cardinal Island and tame myself an Argy. Unfortunately, I built my trap wrong, and even after attempting to fix it, I ran into an alpha raptor, so I ended up just leaving.
Fine, I'll cooperate.
On the bright side, Chicken finally decided to cooperate. So, tribed him up and we headed over to the island to get ourselves some PTs. And once I had my PT tamed up, I went to go and pick up Chicken Z to help him tame up his PT. And so, after executing some unique taming tactics, we were able to get his PT knocked out and tamed up. And once tamed up, we headed over to where we'd build our first base. Upon arriving at the new location, I recruited some of the local iguanodons before I began work on building our first base. And after completing the base, I went ahead and built an Argy trap and began work on taming our first Argy. Luckily enough for me, this went much smoother than last time, and after taming that Argy, I was also able to get a breeding pair of Ankies along with a Dodic. And once that Dodic tamed up, we did a quick little stone run around base before heading to the snow to get some oil and polymer. After coming back from that little trip, we tried hatching the Yankee eggs but realized we were going to need air cons. So we headed to the volcano when the most unfortunate thing happened.
Oh no! Did I get you? No.
However, the trip wasn't entirely a waste. I still was able to get some crystal and obsidian along with the Giga Heart. And once I got back to base, I was able to craft a fabricator, generator, and air cons, which allowed me to hatch the Yankees. I then set up some refining forges before going on a metal run to get some much needed metal for any future projects. As we continued to progress, I knew we needed a reliable way to gather cementing paste. So I went ahead and tamed up myself a beetle bufo, as when taken into the swamp cave, you can gather loads of cementing paste. Unfortunately, this first one was hit by a compy, so I went ahead and tamed another one. Once my frog was tamed up, I made my way over to the swamp cave, suited up in a full set of scuba, and tested him out to see if he was even worth it, and oh boy was he worth it. Unfortunately, the run got caught short by an arthropleura, but we made out with plenty of cementing paste. However, while making this trip, Chicken God died due to an unclaimed Yankee, so we built him a memorial. Rest in peace, Chicken God. Continuing my adventure, I went out and tamed a bee, as a beehive was the last thing I needed to complete my little farm. Since we were going to use Beelzebufos to take on all the bosses, we needed a place to breed them. and this pillar would be the perfect place to build our new empire. So we packed up all the RGs and headed over. With all our stuff moved over to the new location, I began work on framing out the new base. And just as night fell, I was able to finish it so we could get a good night's rest. Because that next morning, we headed out bright and early to tame ourselves some new diesel buffos for our breeding line. Now having all the frogs we needed to build a super army, I went ahead and built them a nice little enclosure, and immediately got to work breeding them. And with every new generation of frog, the old generations would be retired to the frog pond. With frog breeding now well underway, it was time to start getting those artifacts. But things didn't go so smoothly. I mean, while the first two went okay, it's the third one that got us. We let our guard down, and it wasn't long before we lost our first little frog. And while Chicken Z was able to still grab the artifact, may we take a moment of silence for Chicken God. And after barely surviving the setbackness encounter, we cheekily managed to grab the artifact of the brood. And while we battled our way through the ice cave, disaster struck on the way out. I had been struck by a Perlovia and was fighting to get back on my frog. And while all that was going on, Chicken Gobble and Chicken Z had fallen to a pack of direwolves. The artifact of the cunning had a similar story to the ice cave, and struggling to find my frog before I was eaten alive. And while retrieving the hunter artifact went quite smoothly, morales were still low. Luckily, Chicken had her
Are
back.
you ready to do this cave run? No. You have to be more energetic on the second one. Are you ready to do this cave run? No. More energetic. Are you ready to do this cave run?
With this newfound motivation, we breezed through the last couple of caves.
Go.
Well, until this incident with the bats.
Okay, bike. I got mega rabies. I'm dead.
But we were still able to retrieve the artifact of the Skylord and made our way back home to complete our artifact collection. And now, with all the artifacts in our possession, it was finally time to test our skill against the Guardians of the Ark. Starting with Gamma Broodmother, who was so easy, Chicken Z fell asleep during the match. Next up was the Gamma Methapithecus, who showed to be lightweight for these frogs. Moving on, we took on the Gamma Dragon. And strangely enough, we had another survivor sneak into the arena, but was soon put out by the dragon's fire breath.
It's crazy out here.
And then we soon put out the dragon with our licking tongues. Now knowing all the tricks that each of these guardians had in store for us, we moved on to their beta and alpha variants, with the Broodmother proving to be not much issue. And while the beta Methapithecus landed a low blow on Chicken Z, knocking him out of the arena, he showed to be no match for the Frog's Eye. And the alpha was also a breeze. And while the beta dragon proved to be a challenge, it wasn't until the alpha where we really started to have problems. The stray hit from Chicken Z putting me out of the match in the first attempt, and the flame damage destroying all our frogs in the second, wasn't until the third that we finally got the hang of it.
One more.
Let's go!
Yes, sir.
Let's freaking go!
Now proving to all the Guardians that we had the abilities, we headed on over to the Overseer to finally ascend. The path to the Overseer was quite dangerous, so we made sure to take it slow, as one wrong jump and you ended up a burnt little frog. But before we knew it, we were finally there. Finally at the portal,
I'm in the crowd.
and finally at the Overseer.
There's not that much rocks here.
But he had one final test for us. Luckily for us, the Guardians had trained us well, and the Gamma Ascension was no challenge. We quickly defeated the Broodmother and easily handled the dragon. And then finally, wrapped it up by defeating the Megapithecus. But we weren't done there. We went ahead and passed the beta test, and finally, heading to his alpha test. Unfortunately, during the alpha test, I made a mistake during the Megapithecus phase and got hit by a boulder. When the dragon phase came, my tech chest piece was broken by the dragon's flame damage, and I fell to the ground and died. Chicken Z, however, was able to pass the alpha test and ascend. I, however, wasn't going to end it there. I marched my way back up to the Overseer and did the alpha test, solo. Just me and him. I fought hard, taking down the Broodmother, the dragon, and the Megapithecus, before finally proving to the Overseer that I was worthy of that alpha ascension.